And we're live. Okay, welcome everybody to another session of Werewolf: The Dark Ages, and this is actually going to be the first session of the actual campaign called Sveriges Elite, Sweden's Elite in translation. The earlier sessions that you've been witnessing thus far have all been prelude sessions, prologues for the player characters, if you will, and now the actual campaign gets to start where all the players are together. Now that it's been quite a time since I actually gave any sort of detailed descriptions of the setting that we're in. I feel like an actual recap of the setting itself is necessary, and I will do that. It's The game is set in the dark medieval times. It's to be exact, it's 1211 AD, and the game is set in medieval Sweden. I'm going to use an overlay here to show you actually a map of Sweden here. It's going to be set in the southernmost province of Sweden, which is called Skåne, that you can see there. And in the southernmost province of Sweden, the city that's going to be closest to our players here is going to be the city of Lund, that if you can make out in the map there. The city of Lund is a coastal city, so it's a hotbed for commerce and trading. It's only a stone's throw away from the borders of Denmark, across the pond, so there's a lot of trading going on there. And basically, the city of Lund has a lot of lords in it that have under their lordship many different fishing villages and farming villages and such too early. That old fealty to them. There's a lot of farmlands, a lot of fishing locations and such that have little towns over them. And one of these fishing villages, the village of Vildmark, is in werewolf territory. It's the only human settlement in this werewolf territory. And I'm going to show the map here, where you can see in the west there's the coastal city of Lund with all the farmland around it, and then there's the vast forest with the fishing town of Vildmark there. And in the middle of that giant lake, in the middle of that forest, there is the cairn that the werewolf sept is centered around, the werewolf community. The sept, called the Fenrir Maiden's Brood, is centered there. And this sept has 3 packs surrounding its area, or actually that the area of itself consists of, and they all have their territories. Those packs are the Screaming Eagles, the Bullheads, and the Warhearts. The player characters are all members of the Warhearts pack, and the town of Vildmark falls under their pack's territory. When it comes to the actual country of Sweden in the medieval times, at this time in history, the king of Sweden is King Eric of the House Eric, Eric X, to be exact. He is the first king in Sweden's history to actually be formally coronated by the Catholic tradition. The Catholicism itself is relatively a new thing still in Sweden, not like in Denmark or in Norway, where it has been a powerhouse for quite a longer time. In Sweden, it's still a relatively new thing, enough so that the current king that has been coronated only a couple of years before is the first king to be coronated officially. In terms of the werewolf stuff, with the sept itself, there used to be 4 packs surrounding the sept, but it turns out that a year earlier from this point, the last summer, there was actually a very bloody skirmish. The Red Talons sought right to claim the cairn, the kind of holy place for werewolves, where the spirit and the physical are in very close contact with each other. The gauntlet between the spirit world and the physical world is at its weakest, where you have very much of spiritual essence flowing in the physical world. These places are where the werewolves center their communities, and the Red Talons sought that they should have this location to themselves because they, in their own mind, feel they were deserving of it more. They were better. It was a war broke out between the Red Talons and the Fenrir over the rights to the location, and it was bloody. A lot of lives were lost. The entire Pit Fiends pack, which were the pack that had that little empty patch of land there as their territory, are now gone entirely. The Pit Fiends no longer exist, and the Fenrir managed to beat the Red Talons in that conflict, but were left very much, a shadow of their former self. Their sept is now led only by 3 members, and not all of them are even elders. And the 3 packs that remain, the Warhearts, the Screaming Eagles, and the Bullheads, all are less than half the capacity that they were before this war took place. And now it's been a year since that war took place, and a lot of wounds have been mended there, and a lot of new recruits have been very firmly tried to be recruited to replace, a lot of the lost members of the werewolf community, and many of the player characters, John's character and Roger's character, were both new recruits, whereas Phil's character was a veteran of the community who was taken as a POW and rescued. And all those events took place about a year ago, one of those being that Roger's character, curious mind, a person of great great lineage and of pedigree and of respect in terms of her bloodline, was given a very demanding rite of passage, a rite of passage that normally doesn't even get given to anyone. And this rite of passage was that she was to spend an entire year in the realm of Battleground, which was quite a stern rite of passage to give to a new pup. But that's basically where the campaign starts. It's now been a full year. It's been 12 months. And I will go ahead and take you to the realm of the Battleground, where the air is filled with red smoke, where the skies are red, filled with thunderous clouds, constantly thundering and sounding off these crackles and these immense, powerful noises in the sky, where dust clouds and dust storms ravage the land at all times, where this red sand and these red plains and these red cliffs with serrated, sharp edges that would tear off someone's skin if they're not careful, plague the landscape. It's a horrendously harsh area where there's where only tight-fitting caves and such provide any cover for a werewolf. And what?
Oh, John asked something. I'm just replying to him.
Okay.
Sorry, John.
What's
John's
happening? Well, anyway, I'll go back to my bullshit. Yeah, basically the realm of Battleground is something that you could imagine like the surface of Mars or something of that sort, where it's just red and black everywhere, where there's tall shadows and these bright, high contrast red lights beam out of between the thunderous clouds. There's this constant noise of metal clashing on one another, swords and spears and shields clashing on one another, and these screams of pain that's just running through the airspace there, where you can't even, you can't spend a moment without hearing battle going on somewhere, with pain and with glory all around you, and the realm is completely like populated by these spirits of war that thirst for nothing but blood and glory and carnage. And that is where Curious Mind, poor Curious Mind, was sent for an entire year, not to become actually a warrior as she is a Thurge, a shaman, but to learn, but to understand war in its essence, since she was brought in right at the point when the war was won and a new Grand Elder was crowned for the Sept. It's no wonder that she was given such a hard task to basically go on the Spartan path of just forcing these young pups into becoming very tough and understanding of war, because that's exactly what the Sept has gone through in the last few days. Before you being sent here. At this moment in time, basically, after having spent 12 months in this hellacious realm, you would be Curious Mind would be found in a location where she would normally tend to find herself. She would be at a edge of a cliff that resides over a vast plain of dry, crackled up land. That's a space where a large battle has taken place only recently. You are on a cliff, on the edge of a cliff, where you see this vast sea of dead bodies in their pieces of armor and their shields, and banners sticking from the ground that are like ripple and really ripple in the blowing air that's around them. You hear all sorts of nasty carnivorous bird creatures squawking and fighting over the bits of flesh that are in the battleground there. You don't know why they went to war with each other. You don't know if someone actually won or somebody lost, but looking in front of you, it's just a complete an open graveyard basically. And you being a shaman and you being in the role of basically taking this in and understanding it, you would most likely be at the edge of the cliff looking over this in a meditative state. And what would you think that Curious Mind would be processing through her head, having been here for 12 months and seeing this as a commonplace thing to be seen?
Well, first off, Curious Mind will be very different from, will look very different from the way she looked when she came in there. When she went in there, she was quite a well-fed and well-nourished young wolf. And she now is thin, very thin, and very lean, and is sitting there in a meditative state, looking out over this battlefield, and is trying to act like a filter, taking in the rage and the pain and the suffering, and from what she believes to be arrogant glory, and filtering it and running it through her system and trying to exude into this place calmness and control and kindness.
As you're going into that mind space, figuring that stuff out, as the wind is just really like blowing in all around you with your fur just flapping in the wind, and with the wind taking like smaller objects like a piece of a gauntlet in the wind, like metal parts just going in the wind, and hearing these squawking bird creatures and all that. As you're in your meditative state, you hear this very like rage-filled and kind of anguished scream that breaks your concentration. You hear this wolf scream from the distance in front of you.
My eyes open and I see. I try to take in what disturbs my meditative peace.
You
And
see that in front of you, from among one of the armies that's completely desolate, it lays in desolation there, there is a standing figure with 2 feet and 4 arms on itself, like, this kind of Goro style, 4 arms on it, like all the corpses have, and it has this kind of black skin with these very beady, almost like these spider-like eyes, but only like 2 eyes, but these kind of dots, and it has this kind of opening mandible-like mouth, but in almost all other ways it's humanoid, but it's basically some sort of a spirit of war, a minor spirit, not anything overwhelmingly threatening, but still a spirit of this realm. And as it yelled that, you see that it's like puffing air in and out of its system, and it's like, just like you've seen werewolves fall into a frenzy, it just again like just screams wolf and starts to run straight towards you. And at this point it's basically so far off of you that he's in the horizon, he's like the size of an action figure basically running towards you. So he's quite the distance away, but he's running quickly towards you, seeming like he's all out berserking, with only a few parts of a suit of armor on him, like a breastplate and a torn sleeve here and a torn legging in there. But it's just, he looks like he's been through a gruesome battle there. But he's just completely like looks like running out of his mind towards you, screaming wolf.
I quite casually get up. This is something that has happened often. Determining the speed that it's running towards me, can I outrun it?
Well, yeah, you could, but there's most likely it'll just chase you. But yeah, you could outrun it if you turn into your Hispo form.
Hmm. Is there places to hide, or it's pretty open field, right?
Yeah, it's pretty open field. There could be caves around here and there possibly, but that would none that you can see right now. And also, it's clearly like targeted you, so you have no idea whether it has good tracking skills or not. Where basically, if it was a hound, hiding wouldn't do much.
No, exactly. I'm on the cliff, right? So it has to climb up to get to me.
Yeah.
All right, then I'll stand there and wait.
Okay. As you stand there and wait, you can see that when it comes to the bottom edge of the cliff there, it's very this kind of serrated edge cliff where one would easily hurt themselves. But as it has like basically 6 limbs, it starts to climb almost like a spider there, and it just climbs there, trying to get to you, completely like blood crazed as it's climbing. And most of the creatures that you spotted here are very similar in these kind of little features to him, but this specifically isn't any specific type of a creature that you've encountered in the past, I guess.
I'll call out to it. Stay away from me.
You're a wolf! You must die! And it just keeps climbing.
I sigh and breathe deeply, and I change into my crenal shape,
Okay, no problem there.
and I make ready. And as its head starts to poke out, I grab it by its jaw and jump with it off the cliff and kind of take it down to the bottom with me.
Okay, the drop is enough where I will have you make a stamina roll. Just stamina plus athletics to see if you'll make a safe drop when you drop down.
Okay, my athletics is 1 and my stamina is 5, so that would be 6 dices.
Remember all the pluses that the Krynos form gives you.
Yeah, that's only in Krynos form it's my stamina 5. It's not standard 5. What would be the difficulty?
6, basic.
6. So I've got 4 successes.
Okay, you land without any problems there. Are you planning on slamming him to the ground as you drop down, or?
Yes, preferably on some pointy rocks.
Okay, as you come down, it's quite easy. Basically, it's his jaw is in your paw there as you leaped over the edge, and as you come down, you see that as the cliff edge was very serrated with these sharp rocks, it's very easy when you drop down, when you find good footing where you don't hurt yourself. It's still easy to find landing space for the creature where he will hurt himself. And yeah, when it comes down, it slams, and a cloud of dust just explodes in the air as it screams, as you hear these crunching rocks underneath his back as it's just as you slammed him down.
All right.
And there you are.
Almost in a fluent motion, I will sink my claws deeper into it and try to rip its head off.
Okay, as you're doing that, it goes and grabs you by the wrist, and here we're going to have a little tug of war. Strength only, just roll strength, and the difficulty is 6. I'm going to roll strength for him as well.
Is it 10 explodes, or what happens with 10s?
When you roll a 10, you get to re-roll that. Not to replace the 10, but...
No, yeah. So that's 4 successes again.
Yeah, he got a 1. So, so yeah, as you're ripping, he will clutch your wrist, and he will just, you killed my pride, wolf, and will continue to rip its head off.
Yep.
Okay. And just the neck flesh just rips like ripping rubber or something. Somebody has a dry diver suit or something, and just the skin just rips, and the innards just explode out in this crimson spray with this almost like the dust that's in the air just clogging it, and almost like the fluid starts to go into this muddy kind of substance as this dust and this blood just kind of mix there. It's just the bubbles coming of blood coming out of its mouth, just and the head just severs from the body, and it's just this fatality. Just you have the severed head that has this kind of it's kind of distorted expression on its face, and the body on the ground it's just flat, and there's just like a faucet, just blood just coming from the severed head that you have in your hand.
I look at the head and I say, "I'm sorry," and I kiss the head and I put it next to the body.
There you go. And another dead body in the killing fields here in the battleground realm. As you've done that, basically, at the time when you've kissed the head and you're laying it down, you can already feel that a familiar figure is looking at you. You can just feel the presence. You can feel the eyes looking at you as you're laying it down. And as you turn your head, you can see that North Star is a little distance away, only like 6 meters away, standing there looking at you with this kind of a pleased look about her.
I change back into my lupus form and walk towards her. North Star. What a pleasant surprise.
I see that you're doing well.
If you call killing a raged man well.
Well, it is the battle realm after all, but at least you're not in any kind of distressed condition or anything of the sort. How have you been? It's been a little while since I last visited.
Learning every day.
Yeah, it's unavoidable, I guess, around here. You do look a little famished, if you ask me, but I don't know if you've been able to keep track of time, but I have some good news, and that is that the 12 moons are up. It's time for you to come back with me to the physical world, to the sept, and be accepted back into the fold by the rest of the Garou.
Is this a test?
No, it's not. It's not. Good of you to expect, of course, the betrayal from me, the first instance you get. But but no, it's there's actually a sept moot going on there. People are actually celebrating the anniversary, 1 year anniversary of winning the war against the Red Talons, and we're due to arrive during that sept moot and make a splash, make an impact as we are to arrive. Is there anything you if you have like a cave or stash of any memorabilia of sorts that you wish to bring with you or anything like that? You know, it's time to go.
I do. I have to get some things. I'll be right back.
All right, I'll just wait here.
She runs off and goes to her lair, which is somewhat similar to a bird nest that she made from twigs and things and that sort of stuff. And she picks up some things from there, mostly improvised containers, and she carries them off together with everything she has there, which has any value of her, and heads back to North Star.
What sort of things would you have there, like tokens or something like that?
Yes. The only thing that is of true importance to her is the makeshift containers that she has. Over the years, she has gathered all types of, in her eyes, liquids, types of water. And because she's holding her promise to the lake spirit, and she wants to make this a gift to it.
Nice. So you gather all your stuff there and return back to North Star.
Yes.
North Star will look at you and have this kind of a smile on her face about the stuff you've brought with you, and she doesn't really like vocalize what she's clearly thinking, but she's kind of looking at that the stuff you have with this kind of you know, pleased smile, but also kind of what is that stuff kind of thinking. But as you arrive, she will just nod her head and just say that let's go.
I'm still a bit unsure if this is not actually a test. So I'll be alert and aware and constantly looking around and like, okay, when am I gonna be jumped?
Yeah, during this time that you've been here, it's during this time, a lot of different people have come through and come to you to teach you separate little things. North Star has come to teach you all kinds of basic things about who you are and how to use all your werewolf abilities and all that. And somebody like Ox Spear has jumped at the chance to come here and teach you to, fight something like ripping off a creature's head. Is something that you've most likely learned from Ox Spear or something. Uh, and uh, I'm sorry, people, I can't possibly read the the chat stuff that you're writing there while I'm trying to explain. Um, um, so yeah, I just lose track. So yeah, and also other people like Steel Cave would have taught you all sorts of Thurge, shaman stuff about, basically everything you know about the mystical spirit stuff that you know at this point, and others too, but mostly those people.
Yeah.
So it's no wonder that you would think that this is again another test, because a year in this hellish realm is a long, long time, and somebody might easily lose their faculties and get a little strained, being that all that time in here, but you're of a higher breed, you're of a higher prestige,
Cool.
of a higher pedigree with being being a North Star's child. So yeah, your mother is basically there nodding for you to come along with her, and you can see that she lowers her head and looks at her own ankle, basically on one of her front paws, where there's a little locket, just a little string with a little locket on it that has like a reflective mirror surface to it. And she looks at it and sees her own reflection, and through that she is able to pierce the gauntlet, to rip a hole into the fabric of reality and step through. As she does this, again, it's before your eyes, just reality rips into this hole, or this hole rather rips into the fabric of reality with these Tesla coil, just electric style, edges to that tear, and the surface of the tear itself looks like quicksilver or something. It looks like a flowing surface of water or something that reflects perfectly. And she just looks at you and smiles and then leaps through it, leaving it there in front of you.
I follow.
All right. As you go through, one thing, I do think I remember correctly that the cuckoo bird was not with you in the battleground realm.
No.
Yeah. And one more thing. This is a thing that I forgot. I was supposed to ask before we started the broadcast. The cuckoo bird, is it able to give you rage points, gnosis points, or willpower points when need be? You need to choose one of those, and I don't think we ever did.
Oh, no. I would say willpower.
Okay, that's quite fitting. In that case, as well, the Cairn is basically, all the Cairns have some sort of a theme to them, and the Cairn that's that the Fenrir Maiden's Brood sept has created their community around is a Cairn of will, which means it's ancestor spirits and spirits of war and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, Green Lantern, basically. Yeah. So yeah, again, lost my train of thought. So there you go. As you leap through the tear there in front of you, it's a refreshing feeling because you've spent so long in here. since you're a wolf, you age a lot faster than humans, so you spend almost half your entire lifetime here. So as you get to leap through it, it's almost like as you leap through, it's like you are completely orange from all that orange and red, dust flowing around in the battleground realm, because the world you enter is completely like aquatic and blue, and it's very like turquoise, serene, calm, very pale moonlight type of a place where your fur flows like underwater, and it's like very like the air you breathe feels extremely clean, so clean that the contrast between this world and the battleground realm all automatically makes you like cough, and it feels like you have dust in your lungs type of thing.
Getting too much oxygen in my lungs.
Yeah, you're used to not getting that much oxygen. Yeah, it's basically, yeah, when you come out, you're basically standing on top of a moon bridge, a bridge that you walked on when you came to the battleground realm for the first time. As the tear closes behind you, you see the familiar sight of basically almost like being in space, this kind of black never-ending canvas with a lot of like star-like dots, where the star-like dots are sometimes quite close to you, and those have kind of provided the map for somebody like North Star to find the entrance to the battleground realm. But you're standing on a moon bridge currently with your mother, this wide, basically like a highway in the Umbra, and that goes into this kind of roller coaster style shape as it descends down, where you can see in the distance downwards, you can see basically the island there as this kind of a small little thing. You can see the island there where the garden is, and you can see this light emanating from it. As before, when it was the 1 year ago when they held the Sept-Moot, they had a giant pyre there, and you can already guess that that light emanating from the island is the light of a giant pyre there. And at that point, your mother looks at you and says, "Come on, everybody's waiting."
I consciously stop for a moment and stand there and inhale, squinting my eyes a bit from the bright and pure light that I'm seeing, and looking around and taking a mental moment to unlock something inside me, and something I've been keeping like a treasure inside of me, and I kind of open a little door and I look at my mother, and she probably will see for the first time in a year this twinkle in my eye, and I kind of like bump up against her and say, "Reishi there," and I start running.
She lets out this kind of a smile, because she has been dealing with the community recuperating from war and all that, so any chance to kind of let loose, especially with her daughter, she's all for it. And yeah, the two of you raced down the moon bridge towards the garden there. Meanwhile, back at the Legion of Doom, at I'm gonna go into both One Fang and Red Claw, as the two of you, in the meanwhile, have already arrived into the Sept-Moot there. You know that it's basically the theme of it is this 1 year anniversary of the end of the war with the Red Talons, and everybody's ecstatic. You're celebrating inside the Umbra. That's actually something that I should have done from the beginning. You should have held these in the Umbra because the spirits therefore can also partake. So while you're in the Umbra with all this color schemes that I described earlier, with the pale moonlight there, like shining bright, and all these turquoise blue and all these pale colors there. There's the giant pyre that's flaming up, all ginormous, emanating this huge light and heat all around you. There's Dusklight is playing his drums there, just like these taiko giant drums. Just everybody's just sweat is pouring everywhere. Everybody's either dancing, drinking, or brawling, and it's just this kind of a air of this very general like partying. There haven't been too many announcements made yet or anything of the sort. Everybody's just been gathered in, and all the three packs are there, and in this island that's basically the shape of a coliseum in this natural way, in the kind of a sidelines there, kind of in the crow's nest there, there's the leaders of the sept who are not actually like partaking with the common folk or something. They are basically hanging around, and they always look like, whenever you're gathered like this, it always looks like they have like serious debates and discussions amongst each other. They're always like, there's hardly ever like, they seem like they can't afford to relax, like they feel that you, as the warriors of this community, must, in order to keep your humanity intact and that sort of thing, and keep your community strong. And yeah, there you both are, both One Fang and Red Claw would be there, just celebrating amongst one another there. The mead is flowing. You see these ancestral spirits there dancing with you. They're kind of these wolves and human-shaped spirits that are almost like moving in slow motion as they're doing these kind of almost like native-style kick dancing type of dances around the pyre, creating very tall shadows as they're dancing in its blazing light there, and there's all sorts of other spirits there, like when there's brawls, there's some kind of spirits of war just taking part in it, and all that sort of stuff. Every spirit glowing in this pale light, and all this stuff. It's a very inviting, very testosterone atmosphere. So yeah, what sort of stuff would One Fang and Red Claw be doing in a place like this?
You want to go first, Fang? I'll go first. One Fang having, in my opinion, kind of arrived slightly later than everyone else, since he tends to keep a lot of his time back home in the town. It's kind of at the edge of the island. He's just swum across. He's done the greeting howl, but he forgot that he's still wearing his clothes, so he's taking his clothes off and finding a place to just stuff them in under a rock somewhere. And he makes his way into the area, over the hill and down into the Cairn Center. And I think there he kind of immediately looks out where the alcohol is, so he can kind of go over there and grab a mug and just kind of not drink a lot, but he wants to hold the mug because then it looks like he's partying, even though he's just kind of watching and specifically looking for Red Claw. As out of everyone, he seems to, he still has a closeness to her, but he hasn't spotted her yet.
Okay, what would Red Claw be doing then?
During this time, Red Claw is going to be she's going to be near the drinks, and then after she gets as much meat as she can carry, she kind of sits back to the sidelines of it all. She partakes whenever it's socially expected of her, and she kind of partakes even more. And then when she feels like the eyes are off of her, she kind of retreats back and kind of leans back against a tree, still enjoying all the jubilation that there is, but just kind of absorbing it all inward.
Okay.
When she sees One Fang, she will kind of lift up a hand and sort of wave him on over.
Sorry.
As
Oh, go ahead.
as One Fang would see that, the moment that you would spot her and she's like waving for you to come there, immediately that's cut off when you feel a giant hand grab you by the shoulder. Someone who's a lot taller than you, and whose forearms are basically as thick as your neck, basically grab you by the shoulder, and it's of course Oxfear, who is of course drunk out of his mind, who's just grabbing you by the shoulder, just squeezing it, and you're like. Rocking you and that sort of thing, and he has this huge horn of a mug in his arms, and he's like, "What kind of a drink is that? That's a woman's drink, you pussy! Why don't you just try this on for size, and we'll see." And he just slams the giant mug that's like filled to the brim, where it like sloshes all there's like spillage on your chest there when he slams it on there. And he's like, "Well, come on, let's see you handle a man's drink."
One Fang kind of sighs and looks him up, and he kind of holds it up, and he just starts drinking it, and he'll try to put down the whole horn. That entire horn is going to go down.
That will first that will require a stamina roll from you.
What's the DC, please? Or 6 or 7?
Yeah, 6 is the difficulty.
So I got 2 successes.
Okay, it's difficult, especially since it's so potent in its alcohol content. As you're just and it starts to feel like can't make it, and you feel like Oxfear grabs the end of the horn and yanks it upward, like and at that point you're going to have to do a willpower roll. Can you muster it?
You said 10s. We reroll.
Yeah.
I got 3 successes.
Okay, that's good. As you're like feeling like, oh, I'm about to choke, I'm about to fucking die here, and it's like, oh, and you feel like the last swirl just go down your throat, and it's finally over, and you get to gasp for precious air.
For a split second, One Fang kind of drops the horn and goes down to his knees and just kind of takes a deep breath, trying to hold everything in, and then I sort of straighten up. Stand as tall as I can, and I just kind of slap him on the shoulders and say, "Yeah, man's drink."
He just tosses his head backwards, just and just slams his hand on your shoulder. It seems like oftentimes when he's sober, he's really stern with you, but almost like every time he gets drunk, he's like this kind of manly, this kind of appreciation kind of stirs.
I feel like One Fang has learned over the past 6 months that it's easier just to go along with what he says and act the way he expects me to act, even though that's not really his. One Fang's personality is just easier to deal with One Fang that way. Yeah. Otherwise, you get a little upset. So.
Yeah, and him being an Aharon, a warrior, being the pack leader, and you're the only Philodox, and in peacetime, Philodoxes are usually the leaders of a pack. He kind of busts your balls a little bit, more than somebody else's, and also because he's your father-in-law, so yeah. He feels almost entitled to. So yeah, he just and just slams you on the shoulder there, and it just looks into the horn and it's like, "You drank my drink. What am? Now you can get more. You'll hear about this." And he just kind of wanders off and says, "What the hell?" And just wanders off. And your coast is finally clear to Red Claw.
One Fang can't help but smile and just kind of shake his head, and he's starting to feel the effects of all that alcohol now that he wasn't planning on drinking, but now he's already starting to get a little buzz going. He looks around on the ground where he probably dropped his mug, picks it up, and then just kind of refills it, and then clumsily makes his way over to Red Claw to greet her.
As you make your way over, she has her arms crossed and kind of showing off her own powerful physique that is present. But when she does, she has a glint of a smile, a smirk on her face as you come close. And she looks up to you, nodding her head back. Careful with that. You might end up falling on the floor. Looks like you took a lot in.
He kind of tilts his head and tilts the mug. He's like, way more than I planned on drinking. And then with that, he kind of holds out his arm to clasp your arm in greeting. And then if you grab it, he just kind of does that side hug, that friends have.
As you go to side hug, Red Claw, you can hear from your crotch level this voice saying, "Patience is a virtue." And it's the skull that he keeps on his around his waist, around her waist there. It's the moss-covered skull, basically. There, this skull that's got all sorts of carvings and all these emblems of werewolf symbols and all that stuff. It's the skull that she brought from the pit where she was held captive, that kept her sanity in check when she had somebody to talk to. And during this time, this whole year that's gone through, she has actually housed a spirit in it, and now it actually talks and acts as a voice of reason. so yeah, you hear these these voices of reason every once in a while from her crotch area, just the skull talking.
He kind of stops for a second and then continues the hug and then backs up. He's like, "That thing's kind of creepy,
What? You mean neither, Drake?" And she kind of pats the skull on the head.
He nods. Yes, that's definitely definitely what he thinks is creepy. Yeah, and sips at his beer.
How is it creepy? It's no different than any other. She kind of folds her arms up with her back leaned up against the tree.
He kind of in his addled mind, he just kind of reaches out and he says, "I'm sorry. Maybe I'm just drinking too much. It just seems a little weird. And I'm still used to living in the town. I'm not used to all."
No worry. No offense was taken. By the way, congratulations on your wedding that you've had.
He's like, "Oh, thank you."
And she kind of holds out a mug of ale to just to kind of commemorate.
Right. Yeah, One Fang cheers and then obviously drinks deeply. He's like, "Yeah, it was a small ceremony, but I was happy to finally to be married to Agnes, and I found employment in the town that allows me to come here whenever I'm needed. So my cover is good, which is important to us. I don't like being away from her." And he kind of looks off in the direction of the town, and then looks back. But werewolf business is important business.
She understands. And besides, she is in good hands.
He's like, "I haven't talked to you in a while. Did I tell you that Agnes is pregnant?"
No. She is with child.
Yes.
This is good.
Yeah, 6 months along, so soon we'll have us maybe a pup running around. I don't know.
That is for the spirits to determine.
He kind of looks to the side. He's like, "I'm a little nervous. Part of me wants, what is normal now? Part of me wants this child not to have, my blood. Wants him to be just more human, but the other part wants me to have the joy of what we actually are."
She raises an eyebrow when you say that, and her arms kind of come to a slack and walks up to you. There is nothing wrong with what we are now, and what is normal is what we are now. This is normal. I can understand your reservations of your child to be born with our blood, I suppose, but in a way, if your child does get our blood, then that would make your child a huge boon to us. It would also mean that they would be protected in life from the dangers that may follow. This world is, after all, quite unforgiving. And she kind of gives you a firm stare when she says that.
Yeah. One Fang stares back, and after a couple of seconds kind of nods and says, "Wise words, my friend." I guess part of me, because of the war that happened, I guess like any father doesn't want their child to be in this fighting. You know, if he's in a rune or she's in a rune, you know, or she's going to be in the front lines fighting. I don't know.
Fighting is a part of our lives. At some point, he or she will need to fight, and she'll need to learn well.
Well, I hope when that time comes, perhaps maybe you'll teach her how to fight, as you've been showing me how to fight.
If I survive that long, I will assure you that I will.
With that Red Claw One Fang kind of turns and looks out into the groupings of everyone out there fighting or dancing, and he kind of notices Oxbear probably just arguing with someone like he normally does, and says, you could have saved me from Oxbear making you drink all that,
Well, I wanted to avoid confrontation for a while. He is easy to provoke, especially when he is drunk, and for now, I will bide my time. I don't think it wise to approach him now. Not out of fear, mind you, and she kind of tenses up when she says that, but kind of laxes back again. It is merely out of keeping the peace. I wish not to spoil the occasion with old grudges.
No, and nobody would ever doubt that you were fearful. He kind of holds his mug up to cheers her again for that.
She gives a slight smirk and drinks in turn.
As the both of you, God damn it, feline off. As the two of you are drinking there and being in this profound respect that you both have for each other, for the shared past and all that. That kind of, as the two of you start to kind of look around you and all that, the drumming that Dusklight is playing there starts to get this kind of a more aggressive tone. This kind of it's been kind of ambient and kind of this experimental, whatever comes to mind, type of impulsive kind of drumming music there from one werewolf who can use rage points to go faster, type of thing. It kind of becomes this familiar kind of drumming sequence, this kind of type of a thing that he's doing there. And you can see to that pace that Good Death, the leader of your sept, is erect. He is standing up in the basically in the crow's nest there, and he stands there facing everyone, and everyone notices him coming there, and everybody kind of their kind of chest turns into that direction, and he holds out both of his hands and declares that the 1-year anniversary of our victory over the Red Claw, or the Red Talon fiends, is now at hand. Celebrate, brothers and sisters, friends and comrades. Celebrate and feel proud. And the drumming gets more aggressive as he looks to his side, as Steel Cave also stands up and stands in front of him, and beside him, and says that I now declare this sept mood open. Let us praise Gaia and Fenris for their gifts for our sept and for our entire tribe. Let us celebrate, let us show our respect. Our sacrifices that have been made in blood flow ever through us, through our future sacrifices and for our future our current commitment to our fellow Garou. All of us join me in celebration now as we and he turns one of his claws into this sharp claw, and like in every sept mood, as it begins, cuts a small laceration in his hairline that will make blood kind of just splurt out. It's a minor wound, but enough blood will come out where it like runs through one's face, and you can see all the other werewolves around you do the same thing. And the drumming then turns into this very slow, this kind of type of thing, where there's every time this kind of this slower pace, and then a huge, bang. And every time there's a bang, every one of the werewolves just smacks their forehead. And some are using fists, some of them are using their paws, some of them are smacking each other, and it's like this kind of they're stomping one of their foots at the same time. This kind of huge, this kind of like we will rock you type of stomping, this type of thing. As there's this giant, almost like war dance of this entire community, just and blood is like splurting out, and everybody's just feeling like this kind of this just visceral, this kind of feeling, keeping the blood flow of the glorious battles of the past just alive by just everybody's just getting real like pumped up and all that sort of stuff going. Like some are like froth is coming to their mouths, and some of them are just, their eyes are just turning in their heads. There's just, some of them are just euphoric as they're just chanting and slamming their heads in this very very in this kind of primitive tribal way. And as this kind of is going on, Steel Cave will go to his pouch and take some of this blood and take something that's flowing like sand from his pouch and rub them together in his hand and just spread his arms so that this kind of foggy, kind of sparkly dust comes into the air, and it makes the pyre just kind of puff in these kind of puffs, and he's saying that we remember the battles of the year past as we remember the battles of the times beyond. We remember the battles of the past, and we remember the battles of the bygone generations. In the battles of the near past, we remember the sacrifices of such warriors as Paledred, and you hear everyone chanting Paledred, Paledred, Paledred as they're slamming their foreheads, and you can see in the dust cloud in the sky there's this kind of a shadowy imagery of a figure that you can that Red Claw can recognize as a familiar face, just doing all these very glorious maneuvers and slashing at enemies, and everyone's just to the rhythm of the music and the slamming, just chanting his name, and he will go, and we remember all the past glories of all the other warriors in our midst, and we most of all remember the founder of our sept. We remember why we are called the Fenrir Maiden's Brood. We remember the Shield Maiden, Shield Maiden. And you see again these kind of, as he throws the dust in the air, you can see these shadowy shapes of this Viking warrior woman with this giant Viking shield just thrusting a spear through red talons and slamming them with a shield and just spreading her arms and just letting out this wolf-like roar. And everyone's just euphoric. And and Steel Cave adds that we are now joined by her great-granddaughter, the great-granddaughter of Shield Maiden herself, North Star, and the fabric of reality is extending beyond in front of your eyes as the moon bridge is just opening in front of your eyes as you see two figures, two wolves running towards you, and you recognize one of them immediately. You recognize the keeper of the land, one of the three leaders of your sept, the only one that was missing from the crow's nest before. You see North Star in all of her prestige and all of her glory and splendor. You know not only the pedigree that she holds from her bloodline and lineage, but you also have grown to know a lot of respect to her. She's someone who has shown time and time again her value, basically. And as she arrives and is like in the foreground with the light, of Luna just shining on her, everyone's just North Star, North Star, just chanting away. And then North Star cuts off from Steel Cave and says, and her daughter is also arrived from 12 months, 12 moons of suffering, 12 moons of hardening, 12 moons of tough love, of learning by the numbers, learning by suffering, learning euphoria through the desolation and death that warfare brings, that we've all felt when in this sept, in this garden. We have all had to be baptized in blood one way or another, whether it's through our lineage or through our encounters with our enemies in the battlefield. My daughter, Curious Mind, is here from spending an entire year in the realm of battleground, sucking in the essence of war. Here she is for all of you to see, and at that point, you can see a Curious Mind can see that your mother kind of got into this zone of public speaking, this kind of Deutschland, it's and as you arrive there, it's kind of striking that from striking at their forearms, yelling North Star. They start to. Curious Mind is kind of a long for a chant, so they kind of start to chant "Mine, mine, mine" in a shorter context. But you see this entire community slamming their heads in euphoric state with blood splurting out of it, chanting your name as you arrive into a spotlight emanating straight from the moon itself. As you're basically standing there, you, your mother, and Steel Cave, who has taught you so much about being a Thurge, and the leader of the entire sept, standing there in a line next to you, looking at you with focus.
I step forward and I consciously place my paws onto the ground, and I tilt my head back, or I kind of whip it back, and I howl loud and clear, and more probably my own variant of the greeting, or presenting howl when you get into someone's territory, but not as formal or as submissive, but more like being reunited with my people.
Yeah, as you tilt your head back and let out the howl, you can almost see, almost in this kind of cinematic angle, you can see, from a distance, as this is all going down, right from the edge of the camera, almost, it seems, a bird spirit is just flying towards the community there, flying over every one of the werewolves underneath it, just and flying to his master, flying to a curious mind, and you see your familiar friend, your familiar spirit. You see the cuckoo bird fly and fly right in front of your feet and look up at you with this reverence, and it just lowers its head and spreads its wings on the ground and just says, "My friend."
It's so good to see you again. I kind of push the side of my face against its face.
It looks very pleased, and it flaps its wings and comes to sit on your shoulder there. And the two of you look into the masses, basically, with One Fang and with Red Claw. As you are standing there, I would assume that you're also kind of, pumped over all this stuff. But as all this hyping and all that stuff is going on, something you do notice that sticks out to you is that you see Red Bitch, the Ragabash of your pack, sitting there. She's a wolf-born, so she's not crossing her arms or her front paws, but she has that same kind of air as if somebody's just like, this kind of, rolling her eyes in her head type of thing. It's a regular thing for a Ragabash really to do, but that's just something that sticks out to you, that all this kind of hype is going on and everybody's in on it, and Red Bitch is just, she's not sold, type of thing. She's not buying it. And what do you guys do?
Well, while this is going on, Red Claw is going to be nudging One Fang each time she feels being hesitant in the jubilation, and she kind of just nudges him and like, "No, harder! You must make sure there is blood!" Ah!
Yeah, and at some point you do notice that you don't quite hear the slap coming from your head, as somebody's clearly slapping harder right next to you, and you're...
Yeah, One Fang, I mean, the one thing that he knows, that he still has those feelings of not feeling part of the group, even though he knows he's part of the pack. Because he spends so much time away with his family, when these things come up, and if there's actually dancing or anything that happens with the entire, the whole clan is doing it together, he joins in with zeal, because he feels like, I'm part here. We're all doing it. We're all part of the same thing. So yeah, he'll make his cut and he'll slap himself as hard as he possibly can. And encouraged by how powerful Red Claw hits herself trying to copy it, even though there's no way he could hit himself that hard.
Yeah, it's also something that where at first it might feel like, oh well, I don't know, this doesn't seem like something for me to do. It doesn't seem like me. But once you're in that kind of there is this kind of social effect of a group mind, group think, where everybody's chanting the same thing. It's very, like, it grabs you and makes you chant the same thing without, putting too much thought into it, and it makes that kind of euphoric, it kind of grabs you, and it's, it can be scary at times if you kind of look at it from an outside perspective, like somebody like Red Bitch must be doing, but being a part of it is kind of a euphoric thing. It's kind of, it feels really great to belong to a group where, everybody's, looking out for you as a brother type of thing. But yeah, as you're all chanting there and all that, what about Curious Mind at this point after you've gotten your trusty, familiar spirit on your shoulder there? Are you planning on doing anything specific there?
Absolutely. Once it is at all sociably acceptable for me to kind of leave a Curious Mind and Good Death and that sort of stuff, I will jump down from the perch and join in the celebration, but with a clear mission statement. As in, I want to greet everybody.
Okay.
And she'll be euphoric and well, she's in wolf form, so she won't be hugging people, but she'll do the wolf equivalent of that, like, "Oh, it's so good to see you, oh, hug," and that sort of stuff. And
yeah, you
who are you? And tell me about you, and that
yeah.
sort of.
After greeting a couple of people like that, you see that the leader of the bullheads is there, but he has his back towards you, and he's kind of like with someone, but he's right there, like in front of you. The leader of there clearly is like the pack of bullheads, kind of close to you there, and he's like his wide back towards you.
Do I know him to be the leader of this pack?
It's clear. You can clearly see it from his demeanor there.
Then I'll hug him from the backside.
As you go and hug him, he kind of turns his head like very stiffly, like, and kind of turns his body, and with all his pack mates looking at him, he goes, "How dare you, little jabroni, come in to the Horned King's territory here, his space, and not even have the decency to introduce yourself? What is your name?"
I'm Curious Mind.
It doesn't matter what your name is! He interrupts you there. And everybody in his pack is like, "Horned King, yeah." And Horned King just says, "And Horned King says this. Horned King says this. You can take your greetings and shove him up straight up your candy ass." And everybody's like, patting him on the shoulder there, and yeah, everybody's like just this kind of stupid machismo thing going on up there, and yeah. But as that's going on,
I'll probably be sitting there wagging my tail and looking at him like, "Oh, you're funny."
and he raises one single eyebrow at you and turns back into his friends to talk to them. And one of his pack mates there comes to you, and he has like his puffy hair, and he has like his face has like this like black paints on it, and he's like really muscular as well. And he comes to you, and he's like, "I see you are a Thurge too, Curious Mind."
I sure am.
"Same here. I am also a Thurge, a shaman, a great warrior speaking in the voice of the spirits, Curious Mind. We are the Bullheads, Curious Mind."
What's your name?
"Warrior!" Yeah, he's called Warrior. Okay.
Nice to meet you.
I
I kind of bow my head and say, "I'm sure we have a lot to talk about, but I have other people to meet."
"If you ever wish to come and speak to me about spirits, Curious Mind, my doors are always welcome for you." And he's just flexing there, and all of a sudden he just starts to rock his hair and just, "Spirits!" and starts to run off.
Great. Thanks. Well, I continue my tour.
And as you continue on, the next person you see is a familiar bald guy who is quite large in frame. You see the familiar face of Oxspear, who has indeed been tutoring you in the past 12 months that you've been there, especially to teach you to use your rage, to vent your rage, and to utilize it, and to use it as a strength and not a weakness of will. So you two have quite of a, you two have a relationship already, and basically, he kind of called the dibs, but when you first met, he kind of called the dibs on you being a member of his pack of the Warhearts once you would be regarded as a Cleoth. So yeah, you see him there in front of you, and just as you see him, he kind of turns around with a another horn in his hand and just goes, "Curious mind! Oh my God, it's good to see you back in the physical realm, back in the, I mean, never not in the physical realm, but basically back in the garden, back in where you belong, back where it's good and real and all that." And he just comes and pats you on the shoulder and is like, "That you remember our little pact, don't you? You know you're needed the most in the war arts. We don't have a thurge, we don't have a shaman," spilling drink while he's waving his hand, and we are sorely in the need of your assistance, especially since of your prestige and your ranking in this. You're going to elevate our pack into heights that we should be. That when you look around these clowns and the bullheads, I don't think I've ever told you how I got my own name, but let's just say it has something to do with bulls and spears. So those people don't bother me if I don't want them to. Let's just keep it at that. But anyway, it's good to see you back. And just keeps slamming on your shoulder. I don't think I've ever gotten the opportunity to introduce you to the rest of our pack. It's most likely you won't get to meet Dusklight right away because he's busy right there just showing off, little prima donna. As he's just just drumming there, and he's just, let me show you to the rest of the crew. There's a lot of tough sons of bitches, and there's a bunch of pussies. Let's see. Look at that. That's Red Bitch right over there. She's called Red Bitch because she doesn't know when to keep her mouth shut. And Red Bitch is looking at you with this kind of she's kind of looking at you with this kind of, and then when Oxspear yaps on, she kind of rolls her eyes, and it's just it looks frustrated, and Oxspear says, "But never mind her. She's a sour puss. She just sucks the life out of any party. That's the Ragabash for you, if you ask me. Here in this dark little corner here, where the sun doesn't shine and where no one can see whether look here. There's one Fang who's missing one of his fangs due to this, and but yeah, he's my son-in-law, whatever. And then there's Red Claw, one of our best warriors in our whole entire pack. You ever need somebody to look for your back, it's Red Claw. She disemboweled people through their groin in the war. And so don't get on her bad side, but yeah, you just go ahead and make nice, I suppose." And he kind of shoves you from the back, and as it's kind of the three of you in this almost like triangle shape, with the three of you standing there, and after that, Oxspear just looks away from his head to the direction of the bullheads and just said, "What do you say? You want to say that to my face?" And he just walks off drunkenly. So there the three of you are.
Yeah, I mean, one thing. I mean, I immediately, once Oxspear turns to walk away, I just watch him for a second, then look down at Curious Mind, and I'm sort of kneeled down, so I'm on one knee, so I'm at eye level with her. Well met, Curious Mind. I'm One Fang. Yeah, it's good to meet you.
It's great to meet you too. I walk up to you and kind of put the side of my head to your face, more or less in an embrace.
Yeah, One Fang will definitely just reach up and hug you just slightly, almost the same thing he would do with Red Claw or Red Bitch in there when he meets them. And then he kind of backs up and kind of motions towards Red Claw.
She looks over at you, Curious Mind, and she gives a nod. And as she walks over towards you, her form begins to change from this tall redhead with a powerful build and braided red hair, along with a few bone-like accoutrements for earrings and a necklace. And not really much of clothing, as they are all in the nude, but maybe the slight semblance of a loincloth to kind of hold the skull next to me. Um, and she kind of starts to transform, going into her lupus form, and so she begins to walk forward. She crouches down, and you see her form change into that, and she walks up to you, and then she goes, "Greetings, curious mind." And she rubs up against you.
I do the same and say, "It's a pleasure to meet you. I take it we're to be pack members?"
Yes, and it is an honor. And she bows her head as she says that.
Oh, the honor is mine. I bow as well. I look over at Red Bitch and kind of wave at her like, "Hi."
She kind of, she has this kind of a sour face, but she's also like, but she's a distance enough away where she's not part of the conversation clearly, and couldn't hear your conversation anyway because of the loud noise.
I look around. How much of the rounds did I make?
Well, quite a lot. Let's say that you also you met a lot of let's say you met Screaming Eagles members, that you had good experiences with them. Then was the Bullheads with their whatever, and then it was the Warhearts. So mostly, good impression all around, because people recognize the lineage to werewolves lineage, and your breed and your all that is extremely important. It's yeah, to them they hold on to a lot of past stuff. If they hold on to a lot of old grudges, and they hold on to a lot of old allegiances and all that sort of stuff. So someone like you, being of such a pure breed, basically gives automatic respect. People automatically respect you as if you would have done something similarly as great as your mother or her mother or so on.
Which one of the two in front of me is the best fed?
One Fang is kind of a regular body shape, I would assume, and and Red Claw is very muscular, so she has to consume a lot of proteins and stuff, so she would be considered more well fed.
Where's the food?
If you are looking to consume, just over that way. She kind of just nods her muzzle off to your left, and there's the banquet of a feast, and slaughtered prey all about, but it's all cooked in the proper fashion on a long table with meat, and there's various, a few candles on there, but you got all the other accoutrements of food all piled on, people already digging in as is, with whole turkey legs and stuff, just...
You hear her stomach growl, and I look at One Fang and say, "You are Oxspear's son-in-law?"
I am. I am married, and as he says that, he kind of motions towards the food so that as we can talk as we're walking to get food. After hearing your stomach growling, he says, "Yes, I'm married to his daughter Agnes, my wife."
Oh, wow. Is she pregnant yet?
Actually, as he's grabbing some food stops, he's like, "Why, yes, she is."
That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you. He smiles and gets some food, and I don't know where we're getting rid of it.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear that?
Yeah, I can hear that too. I wonder if it's from my end. I'll go and get my headphones just to check.
Well, as you do that,
Do eating sounds.
What?
Do eating sounds. You do that really well.
Let's see if it's the trouble is on my end.
Ooh.
Well, that's a perfect look for you, yes.
Yeah.
The sound is better now, I think.
Okay, then it must have been on my end, especially since I do
Testing.
keep this. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, it was me. It was me all along.
Well,
Okay,
well,
continue.
well, as Redclaw approaches to your side, one thing, she will begin to transform back into her Hamid state, and when she does, she grabs a big hunk of meat, of the ribs of a freshly slain kill, and just picks it up and just starts gnawing on it, and then looks over at the other two and goes, "Just really dig in. There's a lot of it there. It's quite. I'm sorry."
Curious Mind's probably already eating and is scoffing down some meat, and it's a long time since you had this good quality meat.
You know, as you two devour your food, One Fang grabs a small chicken wing and breaks it off and just eats it slowly.
Okay. As this is going on, as the three of you are basically there feasting, the drumming at some point kind of stops in its tracks as this one of the kind of spirits of war that have been there also taking part in this celebration. This kind of uh, ogre-like kind of cave troll-like from the Lord of the Rings movies. This ginormous, just this kind of gorilla-like creature that's clearly like a spirit. Just lets out this kind of. What sort of lot is this? I look about me and I see nothing but pups, and I see nothing but mangled veterans. I see no true warriors. There's hardly any elders in this little sept of yours. I will commence an open challenge for anyone to test their iron against me. Make room, you whelps! And lots of werewolves are kind of stepping aside as this kind of it's like as tall as a Krynos basically, just but it has these really really thick like tree trunk like arms and short legs. It's just let's see what the Sept's warriors are all about. I hear a lot of good. I hear a lot of praise about battles gone beyond from past, but most of your best warriors must already have fallen in those wars. What do you have left? You have nothing but new, fresh recruits with no experience? What sort of and kind of cutting that off, you see a familiar, drunken out of his mind face with almost like the moonlight shimming off his bald scalp, creating a lens flare as he steps up to this creature. Of course, Oxpear is who I'm talking about. Just like, just especially Redclaw and One Fang know that he's lately been groomed into becoming a possible next. What was it called? Was it like warden? I think it was a warden. Basically, the guardian, basically the champion, the warrior leader in the sept. Possibly once he gains enough rank, he would have been groomed enough to be ready for that position type of thing. But you also know what he's like in here. He has largest arms, but he also has kind of a stegosaurus size brain. But yeah, it's he immediately gets provoked by this creature and immediately goes just spits on the ground and says, "You want to test my metal? Here we go!" And it just you see that even in his drunken state, it's kind of it can be kind of scary because he does look like he's like, yeah, whatever, go, fuck off, drunk, that sort of thing. But at the same time, the punches he's throwing look like punches that would just shatter somebody's skull into like million little, just these jigsaw puzzle pieces with one punch type of thing. It's just, he goes in, and every time he like squeezes his fist into a tight grip, like the forearm just bulges, and you can see that the shoulder like bulges when he goes for a hook and that sort of thing. And the creature, the kind of troll-looking war spirit, doesn't dodge any attacks. He wants to take them all, and there's just this kind of really strong punches in there, and he's just screaming and yelling, and sweat is just sloshing off him as he's just giving it his all, and it's kind of like punching a brick wall almost. Like it doesn't react, but it doesn't show any pain type of thing. And Oxspear is just punching away, and in the end he punches him in the jaw, and then Oxspear is just sucking in air, completely being like puffed out, completely. His skin is all red, covered in sweat, just like a faucet, just pouring off of the side of his nose and all that. And the creature kind of just bends its neck a little bit, and at that point, Oxspear just kind of gets a second wind. It just he clearly uses up his rage that he has pent up inside, and you can see all this kind of Fist of the North Star style, like he like punches like the Flash or somebody like that, just spends all of his strength in this kind of just these punches, just standing basically still and just delivering punches until he eventually just spends all of his energy, and the creature during this time has kind of like it's been hurting him, but he's like taking it. And once Oxspear lays off one more punch and goes like, the creature then spins around his own axis and delivers a spinning back fist on Oxspear's face, and Oxspear goes spinning like a corkscrew in the air with droplets of sweat just going everywhere, and he just like on the ground, and you can see like the troll-like creature also is like sucking in air and puffing, and kind of grabs his chest, that where most of the punches took place, and you can see that the flesh is bumpy, and it has all sorts of like lumps and clear, like the sort of thing that if a spirit had bruises type of thing, like, or bleeding bruises type of thing, that's what would be there. And it's just
quite good, but I don't think enough. Anyone else?
And it just keeps looking around.
One Fang would when he's watching the fight, he's kind of like excited because he's been punched by Oxspear before, so we know what that's like. And when he sees him go into a frenzy, he starts to get a little nervous. And then when he gets back, he hits him with the backhand, sending him flying. I think that One Fang would just rush to him, and just make sure that he's okay. Not only is he my pack leader, he's also my father-in-law. So we have that kind of attachment where I don't like him, but I do like him at the same time. Well, nobody's going to hurt him. If anyone's going to hurt him, it's going to be me. Or maybe it's going to be me in the end. And,
right.
So I run over to just check on him to make sure he's not harmed from the hit.
Well, he has like his side of his face. It's almost like Two-Face, as it's like this black and purple. But as a werewolf, it's like you can see it already fading away. But he has lost consciousness, and he's like on the ground, laying there, and you're gonna, easily as you kind of, if you just grab his head, you can like do an alertness and wits roll. Difficulty 6, the regular.
Six, so 3 successes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, as you kind of turn his face and see if he's doing okay, with that roll, you can hear in your ear this kind of kind of coming to the surface, and you have the time to step back
Oh, thank God.
as this kind of just water hose just from the nose and mouth, just spewing everything he's consumed tonight, just comes to the ground.
I sort of back up and pat his back, but at the same time, I'm kind of looking from the massive ogre creature, and then I kind of look over at Red Claw, and almost expecting her to just charge forward and kill this thing, destroy it.
Red Claw seeing this entire mess unfold. She's got like one bit of the rib left, and she kind of chews on it. And as Ox Spear is launched and his body collapses onto it, and One Fang just runs up and checks on him, she takes her last bite and tosses the bone out behind her. And she kind of starts rotating her shoulders a little bit. She walks up and starts rotating her arms a bit.
Good luck.
And she steps right up in front of the this spirit of war, and crouches down slightly, looks him straight in the eyes. I will be your next opponent.
Well, let's see what you have, you little whelp.
And it lifts one of its arms, just this slow, like, as it's basically open there for you to attack him if you wish.
I look upon this, and the first instinct is to attack, but then she gets this inclination that that's probably what it wants. And so, as it does that, she runs out behind it, kind of running almost on all fours a little bit in the way, and she kind of turns and slides a little bit on the ground, her hands gripping into her toes, gripping into the ground. She kind of skids backwards behind it, and she jumps up and attacks it from behind, releasing her powerful punches.
Okay.
Poking and prodding for various weaknesses.
Okay. If you want, you can do a. Let's make it a bit simpler. Just roll strength and brawl with that. No need to go through the whole battle mechanics because, your life is not being like threatened here or anything. It's not going to kill you. So, just to roll strength and brawl.
Okay. Let's see there. 7, 8, 9s, and 10s are successes, right?
6, 7s, 8s, and 9s
Oh.
and 10s.
Wow. Okay. In that case, I get to roll another one. Okay, I get to roll another one at that point. All right. Wow. All right. So I have 7 successes.
Okay. Well, as the arm is kind of raised and as it's going down, you get to sweep behind him, and you can see like it's got the wide back, but it's got quite a especially compared to the back, it's got quite a small waistline and stumpy short legs, and the waistline is like very like disproportionately like small compared to his back. It's like all the weight is in its upper body there, and as it kind of goes swing down and you lay down those punches, it's like you can see it has this kind of layer of blubber on it. So as you go punch it, it kind of like this jiggly like, but it does like immediately like you can see this kind of reaction from its body as you go and throw in your quick punches there. And you can also, especially One Fang and Curious Mind, can see that everybody's looking at this captivated.
As she does that, she suddenly gets this urge of like blood in the water, and when she sees that, she begins to transform into Glabro state. Her body bulks up. The hair begins to grow, her forearms become much more hairy, teeth become pronounced as it extends outwards. And then afterwards, she will deliver more furious blows at that area, but this time she's going to grab those stumpy small legs and use its upper weight against it, and just lift it up from behind and just throw it down onto the floor face first.
Okay, in Glabra form, you have more dice on your strength, I would presume. So do a simple strength roll for lifting it up. You know, you're good enough in your brawling skills that you don't have to roll brawling just to get the hold. You know, just roll strength for the lifting thing.
Gotcha.
While he rolls, I begin like chanting like Red Claw and More Hearts. And I just kind of alternate that, trying to get everyone to join in, like give her Hulk Hogan powers.
Yeah, you can see that that Dusklight has started to drum all this battle music for you, like this stage theme music. And but yeah, what did you roll?
Okay, I got 2 10s out of that. And I also got 3 more successes on top of that.
Okay, reroll the tens.
And I got 1 more success out of those 2. So altogether, that's 6 successes.
Okay, 6 successes. You're strong enough to lift it. It's gonna be tough to actually drop it down, but as you get your grip on its leg and start to like lift it, you do get one of its feet off of the ground, and it's like very off balance there. But it's also like you see that its upper body is kind of turned, and it's like raised one of its colossal, gorilla-like arms in the air, and it could easily just, smack you on the top of the head from the angle that he's in.
And at that point, now that she's got one of the legs in the air, she's now going to use that momentum. She's going to wait for him to swing, and when he does, she's going to then push herself off to the side, still holding on, twisting him in the air, and causing his own, swing. And the fact that he's got that upper body weight in there is just twist along with her and to slam him onto the ground.
Okay. As that's happening, as it swings its arm, its especially curious mind and One Fang notice that as it swings its arm, it's in the middle of that kind of a move that Red Claw has set up. You all hear this very like this horn, like from a distance, this kind of almost like someone's announcing their presence, like this very like horn like, and immediately as it swings, its concentration immediately shifts as it's almost lets its arm like go limp, and it looks into that direction completely stiff, completely disinterested in the rest of the fight. And in that sense, you are able to continue on with the fight, but you notice that you have an opponent who's completely lost interest in the middle of it all, in the middle of a tight situation, just.
Yeah, I immediately stop my chanting too. Like as soon as I hear it, kind of looking off to, because I don't know what the hell that is. So now I'm concerned that there's something bad happening.
You notice also that the drumming stops as soon as you hear that horn.
When that happens, she fights the urge not to just like toss him on his back, but then she just stops and glances and looks up and she just releases him and kind of just backs away, her chest heaving back and forth.
You'll see that everybody's kind of looking up, and you hear this again, this kind of, and you hear this kind of. These kind of very, very heavy footsteps that come in at a slow pace. But they're coming towards you from a specific direction, and you can see, since Red Bitch is right next to you, you can see that Good Death from all the way from his crow's nest is looking at Red Bitch and pointing his finger, and you can see that Red Bitch looks at you and starts to run. As a Ragabash, scouting is one of her duties. But she looks at you guys with this kind of a serious, like this kind of a, like, I have no idea what that is kind of thing, and just runs off with very quick haste, and you keep hearing this.
I ask the cuckoo bird, can you go see what that is?
Of course. And it just flaps its wings and flies over into the distance.
I begin to slap Oxpear in the face, trying to wake him up now, because I'm like, hey, you're needed.
Did you have any gifts having to do with healing or anything of that sort?
Well, I have the bear ability, right?
Yeah, you can do that once a day, the Mother's Touch. So
Yeah.
you could use it there.
I have one in medicine, but I don't know. Is that how you would use the medicine? I don't know.
But it's the way, if you have medicine, it's the same as using it on humans or something. You have actually like a knowledge of the medical field, how things are done. But in terms of somebody's healing someone's drunkenness, it would just be, you have you have medicine of one, you would know that they need to sleep it off. So. So
pretty much he's gone for the remainder of whatever happens tonight. He's spent his entire.
But if you use the Mother's Touch supernatural gift, that'll take away all that sort of stuff if you wish.
You know what? Yeah, the entire ground shaking like this constantly is starting to bother me. So I will draw on the power of the bear and reach out with my hands with that green glowing energy and try to remove the poison, the alcohol poisoning that's in it.
Yeah, as you're like, have your hands on his, head or something, you do feel like only a short concentration is enough where you feel like you just hear the sounds that the bear makes normally, just this kind of, just these little growls and whimpers and wails that it makes, and you immediately feel the pressure, the kind of force emanating from your head and from your chest to your arms and emanating from your hands into Oxpear, and you can immediately like feel as it like goes off from your hands and leaves your hands. Oxpear kind of opens his eyes and immediately like, what's going on? What's that noise?
We're not sure, Oxpear, but I want you to be ready.
Oh shit! And it just spits on the ground and starts to get up, a little wobbly on the legs, but he straightens his back and he's like a little sore there. But he looks at you and looks into the distance. And after a little while, you see Red Bitch running top speed back from the edge, and you see the Cuckoo Bird spirit flying back. And you can see that Red Bitch immediately runs off to basically to good death, to the leader of the sept, while the Cuckoo Bird comes straight to Curious Mind, and it lands on your shoulder there, and is kind of breathing heavy, like, Master, I did not expect to see it in the penumbra.
What is it?
And you hear, and you see from the edge of that kind of a Colosseum edge there, you see this top of a brown, hairy, but clearly a spirit head kind of pop up like type of thing. And as the first tip of the head comes out, the Cuckoo Bird says, "It's the mammoth." And you see a trunk come to the sky, as you indeed see that there's a mammoth spirit walking to the edge of your what was it called? Longhouse Island, or was it Long Haul Island? I can't remember. But anyway, to the edge, and it stands there in its place. It's ginormous. It's a size of a mammoth, and it has a huge trunk and huge tusks, and it's very almost like majestic looking, almost like none of you have ever seen a mammoth spirit before. It glows. It has this kind of in its visage this ginormous beast, but it has these kind of very pronounced this kind of menacing looking eyes with these beady eyes that just emanate this kind of glow. There's just this. So it has this very authoritative kind of presence to it, and it just stands there, and it's been blowing out its horn and walking towards you, and it just stands there looking at you, and you feel like the awkward, stiff silence gets broken by Steel Cave proclaiming, "Why have you made your presence known here, mammoth spirit?" And the spirit immediately just like shakes its head with its ears kind of flapping there, and with this kind of musk flying off of its back. It's very like impressive to see, and it says,
I, in all my strength and glory, have been summoned from my deepest depths in my realm, where I have lived in seclusion, clear of all those who would kill my species into extinction. I am a warden of those species that are in extinction, and I do not walk the warpath. However, I am a servant of the Griffin, and the servants of the Griffin have sent me as an emissary.
and it just again like twists its body around, and it just lets out these puffs of air, and it's again like it's just a massive body to behold, and Steel Cave is kind of looking at Good Death and North Star, and then looking back at it and saying, "An emissary from the Griffin servants, the Red Talons," and you hear all this kind of Red Talons, kind of from the masses. "The Red Talons are servants of the Griffin. Are you here to speak for the Red Talons?" And the mammoth says,
Indeed, there has been a dramatic power shift in their line of command. All those who were for the war a year ago have been dealt with. They have all fallen by the sword, and a new leadership has arisen, a leadership led by Dead Beast, the new leader of the Red Talons.
and Red Claw immediately remembers the name Red Beast. Red Beast is what the Red Talon was called, who reprimanded and called off your tormentors when you were captured. The Red Talons started to maim you and beat you up for enjoyment and entertainment, and Dead Beast was the one who commanded them to leave you alone, and give you a and he gave you words of encouragement to savor your strength, and he was clearly someone who you could read that he was not for this war, but still kind of like a mafia wife, he might not be okay with dealing violence on others, but he was still a part of it, and he most likely reveled in the spoils had they won. But yeah, the mammoth says that, and the mammoth says that
During my arrival here, the Red Talons have offered a token of peace and goodwill. Even though the war is long over, they still wish to bury the hatchet, as it were. During this time, at the very edge of your territory, they have brought you the bodies of every single comrade of your tribe who fell beyond your borders or who was held captive during the war. All those who opposed giving back them to be buried with honor in their native homeland have been put to the sword. The Red Talons are very few, but those that are left claim honor and dignity and spit on the memory of those who provoked the war. This message I have come to deliver. Do with it what you will. Now I shall return to my realm.
And as it kind of, you can see that Steel Cave was about to ask it something, but it's a very respectable spirit. It's something you don't want to speak back to, with an attitude or anything like that. And it was just here to deliver a message. As it turns off and starts to walk away, this kind of silence that crept up is kind of starting to feel really concerning. Everybody's kind of looking at each other, kind of, and especially to someone like to One Fang, you haven't ever been in contact with the Red Talons. Everything you know about them is secondhand information and stories that could be fabricated, that could be something that's shaped by someone's memories who's felt the horrors that the war brought on them. For Curious Mind, all you saw really was the one Red Talon who attacked North Star when you arrived to the territory, and you saw the final battle between Good Death and Blood Belt, the leaders of both sides. So your experience is not much further than that they were the enemy during the war type of thing. But for Red Claw, you have a very personal notion of what the Red Talons are like and what they can do and all that. So what sort of reactions would all of you have to hearing this news? As there is this kind of silence, everyone's kind of collecting their thoughts of what they feel about this.
Well, what One Fang is, he was there. He saw the torture, the evil nature of that orange miasma that was coming out of that cauldron that was destroying Red Claw slowly over so many months. So he knows that that's not a lie. He remembers the damage that it was doing to the Umbra around it. So that's been, obviously on his thoughts, and he's grown to trust Red Claw, so he kind of goes by the word that, obviously it's what she says happened, but he still has that familial friendship pain that she went through is in there. But then the words of the bear, where the tribes all need to be not fighting each other to protect Gaia. We need to be one tribe to protect everything. Is just continually ringing in the inside of his ear. That powerful bass voice of the bear just chiming in his head, and he's just waiting to see what others say before he chimes in with anything. Mostly because he's young too. He doesn't want to be the first one to speak. So,
what about Curious Mind?
She is in awe. Probably she still has some food in her mouth, but she's stopped chewing it, and it's like just was staring at this mammoth. And as it walks off, she probably will give chase at of course a very respectable distance, but she wants to see it a bit longer before it disappears.
Okay. As you broke off from the group during that time, what does Red Claw feel about this?
Now, as she hears all that news, she's just kind of staring down at the ground still, and still sweating profusely, the sweat kind of dripping off of her brow. And as that happens, her irises rather, they kind of just shrink at the mentioning of the other prisoners. And she didn't realize that at the time. And she thinks back to that pit, that pit that seems to constantly be enclosing in around her, and her breath starts to pick up, and her heart begins to pound. And as she envisions being back in that cell, breathing in that miasma, that constantly choking miasma, all those previous pains come back to her. Her body is still quite a bit scarred from it, though the scars have healed. They're still there, visible along her form. As strong as she is, she still feels that pain constantly, and her hands or claws currently just start digging into the dirt along with her toes, to start digging into it, clawing and raking at it, as she feels this whelp of fear, this panic. Will I ever get out of there? And ever since then, the constant nightmares, the thoughts of it, constantly haunting her, and this kind of puts her into a bit of a state of anger at this, to think that there were others who had also suffered a similar fate, but didn't get out. And so there's a mixture of like unbelievable of sadness, but it is clouded and suppressed and hidden with a bit of rage. But then she starts seeing the crowd all around her, and then she starts thinking back to that pit, and everything starts to kind of spin around her as she sees this, and her breath starts to pick up, and she starts to feel like she's being, closed in again. She pictures that mud, that constant mud always piling around her, that wet, disgusting filth of corpses. And then she kind of gets back up and begins to walk at a hurried pace away. And
As you start to get really like tense, you start to hear this familiar, just this kind of a, shh, keep calm, be sound of mind. Let it, don't let it fester, but keep a calm mind. If you hear from your hip, obviously from skull.
she hears those comforting words from Eider Drake. She kind of clambers off into the forest a little bit, and her hands kind of just leaning up against it, and her claws kind of dig into the barks of the tree as she reverts back to her Hamid form. And then her hand and that palm gets really loose as she just kind of slides with her back up against it, right down to the base of the tree. Nestled between the roots, she kind of curls up into a semi-fetal position and kind of takes deep breaths, and lets the cool air away from all the heat and stuff that has washed over her, not only from the fire and the festivities, but from her own emotions. And she begins to take a deep breath, one right after the other, and she kind of grabs onto the top part of Ida Drake's head and just says, "Yes, you're right. Thank you."
I was there with you. I know how it must feel, but you must not let it consume you.
But it's constantly there. Those nightmares. That pit. It's like a flood. Once it opens, it consumes you.
You are a proud warrior. You are a great warrior. You are tremendously respected by your peers and your packmates and myself. You have nothing to prove to any of us. The only thing we would wish for you to really do is work on yourself. we don't need you to prove anything, but you would perhaps have to prove something to yourself. The the haunting memories must not corrupt and overtake you. As far as your strength goes, you are beyond compare, but when it comes to accepting your past, when it comes to accepting the pain you've gone through, and being able to leave it in the past and move forward, that is when your true test of warrior's mettle comes in, young
As Ida
Redclaw.
Drake says that, she glances up at the moon. As its soft glow marshes over her, and she says, "What good is strength versus such inevitability?
There
There was
is
doubt, much of it."
It is all a creation in your own mind. Inevitability is not a constant. It is not an imperative. It is not part of the fabric of reality beyond your own mind. You must snuff it out yourself. You must look into yourself and find your innermost gods. You must find the gods of war, and you must find the gods of torture and suffering and pain and fear, and you must learn to either shackle them or snuff them out.
I will do this. I will think upon these words, but know that I will also think about those who were in my position, worse or less, I know not, but I know they didn't make it, for their bones will be brought here. I weep for them, but I also rage at what the Red Talons have done.
It just lets out it doesn't really say any more words to you. It's kind of like it just listens, and it's kind of like just understands and listens.
And with that, she kind of loosens up her posture a bit, lets her head lean back against the tree, and closes her eyes and begins to think about these things that Ida Drake has told her, and begins to take deep breaths and just continue to think about those things, work on it.
Yeah. As you're staying there, basically doing that, during that time, Curious Mind did climb the edge of that peak there where the mammoth walked off. And as you've arrived there, you can clearly see that in the distance, the mammoth is with its extremely large frame. It's like when you go to a zoo and you actually see an elephant, it's like, holy crap, that is huge. It's like, as it's actually there, it's just ginormous. It's just walking out in the distance, and it's walking straight up north. It's going to clearly walk out from your territory first, and only then continue onward on his journey back to his own realm. But as you see there's all sorts of bird spirits kind of hovering over it. Some are landing on its back, kind of picking, possible food and stuff from its fur and that sort of stuff, and it's just that kind of walks there and all that. But that's what you basically see in front of you. But as it walked off of the island, it of course had to walk through the lake. Now, in the Umbra, you can see that the lake is kind of different. It doesn't look like physical water that you could splash. It almost looks like a thick mist, but this kind of watery looking thick mist that has this kind of a glow and this kind of a sparkly reaction on its surface as the moonlight hits it. And there's all sorts of living creatures, spirits and sort of things, swirling underneath that kind of a surface. But it's not like when you step in it, it's just, But the mammoth, as it goes through it, everywhere, where basically the path that it leads leaves this kind of a glowy turquoise, bright kind of pathway there. And from this pathway, as it's walked off of it, as it starts to fade kind of way back into the normal texture of the lake there, you see this human head-looking head kind of come from the surface of the water, and you also see a shoulder line of something that's basically the size of a regular human, and you recognize it from what you've been told as an elemental. It's basically an elemental spirit of water as it rises from the and takes a first step on the ground and starts to walk towards you. You can clearly see that as soon as you made like eye contact with the lake kind of made eye contact with you and responded by walking towards you with this water elemental construct there. And you can see that the water elemental is just calmly, walking towards you with this kind of a non-threatening posture. You feel quite calm with spirits like this.
Would I consider this to be the spirit of the lake?
Possibly.
Yes. I'll walk towards it.
As you come close enough to it, you can see this kind of from where its mouth would be if it was a human. It lets out these vibrations of these ripples in the water, and the sound that comes out is like this kind of a bass sound test, kind of this kind of a as this kind of thing that lets out these ripples, this kind of strange like sound. But since you have spirit speech gift, you are able to speak to it because this elemental is clearly not on the same level when it comes to spirits as, say, the mammoth or the cuckoo bird. It's clearly a much more base creature or a construct, and as it's just like standing there in front of you, just with these ripples coming off of it. It's clearly communicating with you, but through spirit speech, you are able to completely understand what it's saying, and it's saying, Honorable Guru, Honorable Guru, hold to your words. Your promises are not forgotten, and the wound festers. It hurts. And at that point, the mouth part starts to spread this black color, kind of, and the water elemental starts to, almost like this camel pattern as it's spreading, almost like an oil spill or something. This kind of black spreads on its body, and it's just it just kind of gets once it gets high enough, it kind of turns around and starts to walk towards the water back, like.
I have not forgotten. I have a gift for you.
Hurry!
I walk with it to the river itself, to the lake itself.
Yeah, it's at that point you clearly made it out that he's just a construct. He's not. It's like somebody sending out like a Morse code message or something like that. It's just it's not like speaking to actually the spirit of the lake or anything. It's just a servant. And it's just and it just kind of falls face first into the lake and just becomes part of it again. But there you are, standing right in front of the lake itself, as it's glowing and sloshing, kind of this thick, foggy essence of it.
I put my paw in the water or the lake, and I bring my head towards it, and I say, I have not forgotten my promise to you. Duties have brought me elsewhere, but now I've returned, and I will make true my promise. I pick out the bag that I have around my neck, and I pick out the containers with the liquid in it, and I look at the water and say, I brought you a gift to thank you for your patience and your understanding. I pluck out the things that make the containers close, and I start to pour it into the water.
Was there anything specific that you've gathered there, or was it like, just water that you've managed to find in the battleground realms, dry atmosphere or something? Or...
Yeah, well, for starters, she will have gathered a percentage of the water that she would have wanted to drink, but she would have kept it in these containers, and so she would have. Suffering is a big word, but she would not have indulged in the water that she would have normally if she would have found it. So she would have kept it to a minimal, and actually a little bit less than minimal, and keep that part for the water here. And during her journey, she found this one spring, which was somewhat clear, and there she also filled one container with.
Okay. Yeah, in a place like the battleground realm, a commodity such as water would be something easily sought after. Like if somebody would see that you have water, it might just go that I want that. You can't have it. Let's go to war over it.
Yeah.
As you go there and pour it, you can see your own reflection on the surface of the water, and you can see as you pour it, your own reflection turns its head and looks straight into your eyes and says to you, your tribute is appreciated. And it's kind of like your own reflection, like moving.
Freaky.
Yeah, and it says also that do not delve into this problem without friends. You need to keep your friends close. Werewolves, the Guru, are pack animals. On your own, you will do nothing but suffocate and drown in my being. Return to me and return to your duty once you are many. But I will be waiting.
I shall.
And as you bow, you can see you bow, and as you look up, you can see that your reflection bows after you had bowed, and there you are.
And I run back to the set.
Okay, there you go. As you run back, you run across Red Claw, who's actually there, kind of on the sidelines there, leaning on a tree there, kind of looking kind of like fatigued mentally. You can figure that kind of out with your empathy and all that. But yeah, you can see that a new packmate of yours seems stressed there.
Then I'll head towards him. And as I softly walk towards her, I come relatively close to her so I can touch her, and I kind of nuzzle her for a moment, just kind of like touch her with my nose and like, hey, are you okay?
There's a 1,000-yard stare that she has, and when it happens, she kind of, oh. Curious Mind. I am fine. I was just a little bit fatigued, taken back by well, by our guest that arrived.
He is pretty awe-inspiring, isn't he?
Yes, but even more so that the Red Talons would wish to make peace.
Hmm. Yes. To think that they killed so many of their own to regain their honor. It's worth looking into, isn't it?
It is, but I will remain guarded to see if they hold in on their bargain or not.
Hmm.
But I am more or less eager to see the bones of the deceased who have been captured by them. I wish to see them buried proper.
As would they, I assume.
Hmm, perhaps.
Not just from our people, but from their own. There must still be, I look at back at where I came from, there must still be many bodies and bones of fallen red talons in the lake.
I didn't even consider that for a moment. And then she kind of glances off to the side and then kind of has this moment where she thinks about like some of the ones that she kind of just disemboweled right in the swamp. And then she thinks, uh, we must also look into the swamp as well.
Oh
There will
yes.
be a few there as well. Quite a few.
If these things are left unattended, they will be places for the worm to breed.
Yes. We should see that their bodies are also returned in kind.
I'm glad you agree. Will you
I
join me for
agree.
a drink?
Uh, sure. Of course. And she kind of awkwardly begins to get up and then begins to follow you inward.
During this time, what has Wanafang been doing since both of these friends of yours basically went to the went one went to the other direction, one went to the other, leaving you there basically. So, what have they been doing?
One Fang, after helping Oxpear up and kind of looking at him and then looking around and still waiting for people to talk about it, like waiting for one of the elders or something, someone to speak on what's happening. Um, One Fang will begin to start looking at his pack mates, looking over at Red Bitch, trying to motion for her to come stand with us, and then what's this, Dusklight, to come over, and he kind of notices Red Claw run, to leave the area, and he's worried about her, but he sees that she stops at a tree where he can still keep an eye on her. So he's kind of basically just trying to keep the pack together to see where everyone goes, and he can't find, right about where he's really getting worried, because now all of a sudden Curious Mind disappears. He can't find her, and then he, after maybe whatever 5 or 10 minutes, nothing still happens. I think maybe there's light whispering between packs as everyone seems to kind of group up with their own pack and discuss what's going on. No one knows really, right? Everyone's waiting for the elders to speak. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I see that Curious Mind is standing next to Red Claw, and just a sense of relief coming over him as for some
Yeah.
reason he felt that there's separation anxiety. I don't know, whatever he felt, it was just a little weird for him to be away from. Whenever he's at any meetings, he's always near Red Claw. As like she's almost like his beacon for what is to be a werewolf, so he kind of always sticks with her. And then Curious Mind obviously disappearing. But he won't say anything until Oxpear actually speaks, as he's the boss as far as that goes.
Yeah. As while you were there, you do notice that Dusklight and Red Bitch both start to come towards you. Dusklight has clear the mood is already like dead, like like he leaves his drumsticks there and starts to turns back into his lupus form and starts to walk towards you. And Red Bitch, after delivering the message, also would have started to walk towards you and Oxspear and all that. And they arrive only a little bit earlier than Red Claw and Curious Mind. And as they're there, Red Bitch kind of shakes her head and says, "This doesn't bode well. It's it's gonna be. I'm not expecting positive repercussions." And Oxpear is kind of like to that. It's like just whatever they say goes. Just wait for them to open their mouths and declare what we're all to do about this. Orders come down, then orders get fulfilled. That's that. Simple as that. And you see Red Bitch kind of like roll her eyes again. And Dusklight is there, and he's kind of like, he's in wolf form, so he's not like rubbing his thighs, but he kind of like that kind of posture is kind of like, well, shit, what do you guys suppose? One Fang, what do you suppose is this kind of became a huge party killer here? But I guess burying our dead is good news in the end, is it not?
I think taking care of our loss is extremely important, if that's what they decide we should do.
Yeah, for sure. But at that point, Curious Mind and Red Claw are walking towards the rest of you, and the whole pack is there at the same time. And as they come in, Dusklight immediately walks up to Curious Mind, and him being a wolf as well, again like just comes in front of her and sits down in this kind of almost like puppy kind of way. He's kind of a positive person, and what was that?
Sorry, I think that was my Facebook. Sorry.
You're spending time on Facebook while we're playing, are you? A brick falls on One Fang's head. Okay, but anyway, Dusklight just sits there with his kind of mouth open, ears high up, and it's kind of positive kind of air of it about him, and he says, "Hey, you're the new kid. I'm sorry I was preoccupied with my duties as the kind of a performer here. It's nobody else who plays an instrument seems to be alive anymore. It's well, all of my former orchestral friends are now resting in peace. In other words, but basically, I can't get anybody to even like, I don't know. I could tie some bells on somebody's leg and they could just ring that when they stomp and slap their heads. But no, the rhythm section is on its own. It seems it's just me, and even then, I don't seem to get the recognition of the position of being in the whatever. It's a pleasure, really. But yeah, welcome. I didn't get a chance to introduce myself. I am Dusklight. I am the Galliard of the group. I tend to the festivities and the enjoyment of my fellow guru, I suppose. But it seems like he keeps on yapping on and on. And it's just you hear there's just this kind of Oxpear just let out this. She doesn't want to hear all this bullshit.
If she doesn't, then you couldn't tell from her expression because she's kind of like looking at him like, yeah,
Oxpear, so
pay your proper respects. Don't you know whose descendant you're talking to? I'm sorry about all this. Even though I'm the leader here, it seems that I need to kick everybody in the ribs every once in a while to make sure they behave correctly. All of you. You were listening when it was pronounced. This here, and he comes to you and puts both of his giant mints on your shoulders there, Curious Mind. This here is the descendant of Shield Maiden, the founder of this sept. So, pay your proper respects, I say. If I was in her position, I'd be telling all of you to kiss my feet.
It's very nice to meet you, Dusklight. You're a great performer. You know how to catch the mood.
Well, thanks. It's
It's what I do.
Can you play any other forms of music?
Yeah, but it's kind of a lot of the instruments that I had available were borrowed from others, and they're no longer around, and they were buried with their most precious, treasured items and belongings, including their instruments. So, yeah, we used to have flutes, we used to have all sorts of bells, we used to have different kind of drums, but nowadays I like to bang on those giant ones there with those giant drumsticks. So it's a total workout, but it's it's what I like to do, and being in a Fenrir tribe, it seems to be in the public demand at this point. It's like if everybody considers dancing to be just stomping and punching themselves in the face, I guess they just like pump 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 pump. It's like, "Oh, this is real art. This is music. This speaks to my soul." I don't condemn anybody for their musical tastes, but come on, it's like I have this whole experimental bend that I'm working on, but nobody wants to hear that shit. I have to play it like whatever. I'm rambling off again, and you can see that Oxpear is just.
Red Claw will walk up behind him and just kind of rub him on the head, and she goes, "He's always had a creative niche that he needs released, and it is most experienced during these times, as he can raise the spirits."
Flutes can sometimes sound like birds, can't they?
Yeah. It's just that I don't like to mingle with humans. I could get myself yeah, whatever. I could get myself a leave to go into Lund or something, and I'm sure they would sell something good there, but it's not worth the hassle, believe me.
We could try to make one ourselves.
Oh, yeah, that's true, but being a lupus, it's like maybe that's why I like drumming, because I don't have to use my thumbs and fingers for anything but gripping. It's all in the whole friggin' arm, It's if I would have to do this, I think I would have to buy a flute every month because I would be breaking them out of just pure, unadulterated rage being flowing over when I try that stuff. I've tried it, but perhaps when the instrument is somebody else's, I kind of steer from breaking it. But I don't know, whatever. And he looks kind of behind him and just yeah. And he kind of veers off of the subject again.
We'll talk about it later. Maybe have the elders said anything yet about the mammoth visiting?
Actually, I kind of got caught up in this, and I was supposed to cut you off earlier. But yeah, the at a little while as this is going on, a lot of the chatter is starting to build up, and once it builds up enough, you hear this whistle, this kind of. I can't do the whistle, and I won't do it in a small little apartment here. My neighbors will kill me. Just this high-pitched whistle, and arms being laid in the sides by Good Death, and he will stand there at the edge of the crow's nest there and proclaim with a booming voice that you all heard him. You all heard him, and you all heard the message he brought. But you also heard my message when the battle was done. And he grabs the ground and he holds up a wolf's head that has been carved open to form a cup that he's drank out of. When I removed the head of Bloodbelt, who was responsible for bloodletting and all this violence dealt upon our kin, our brothers and sisters, our friends and comrades, when I severed this head, I proclaimed that Red Talons will never be welcome on this ground. Red Talons will never be the friends of the Fenrir, and Red Talons can rot all in hell. When it comes to my degree as the Grand Elder of this sept, I
say thus: Red Talons, dignity or no dignity, is still Red Talon dignity and will not be respected.
And he spits on the mug and slams it on the ground, shattering it to 100 pieces. Just and he lifts up his fist, and he just with like a vein popping on his forehead, with his face turning red, and just spit flying from his mouth. He yells out.
The Fenrir are strong as one. The Fenrir are strong because they are the children of Fenris. Fenris is strong because he is who he is. He is of us. He is of our blood. He is of our lineage. He is of our totem. He is of us. We do not mingle. We do not grovel. We do not kiss the boot of Red Talons. They are dead to us. They are the eternal enemy to us. They will never be our allies as long as I live.
And everyone raises their arms in like in euphoria, like, except for, of course, what are your reactions?
Upon hearing this, she sort of has like this sort of like this moment of semi-internal conflict where she, remembers her little conversation not too long ago with Curious Mind about respecting the dead of the Red Talons who also fell in battle as well. And she wonders about, their fates, and they're actually willing to make the gesture to bring back those bodies, and she thinks, well, if he's doing this, then means we won't get those bodies back if we, go to these things. So, well, she does lift her arm up to agree because that is her instinct to do that. She yells, but it's a half-hearted yell. There's not much power in it. But of course, then again, there's this cacophony of yelling all around her. So she kind of lets that speak for itself, and she kind of doesn't really, in her mind's eye, in her heart, she doesn't really feel like, this might not bode too well. She kind of worries, but she keeps a determined look.
What about the rest of you? What about One Fang, for example?
Could we do Curious Mind first? I'll do my last.
Oh, okay. What about Curious Mind? How do you feel about this?
I'll be sitting there and looking curious at the scene, and I'll try to see how I won't be lifting my paws or anything or cheering or that sort of stuff. I'll be sitting there very paws close to each other and almost having one eyebrow raised, and I'll try to see what Steel Cave and North Star are doing.
You can see that North Star is she is not like going with the motions. She's sitting there trying to look respectable, trying to look like proud in this kind of a firm in her position, kind of like she is one of the leaders here. She needs to back up the Grand Elder of the Sept. She needs to. If she shows consent, if she would question his judgment, she would just create like internal schism here. That would be very destructive. So instead of like she's just sitting there looking like she's not nodding or anything, but she just looks like she looks official. And you can see that Steel Cave is kind of it's not like he has his hands on his hips or anything, but he is kind of he's always the one who's been teaching about the value of wisdom and the value of calm, investigative, almost like scientific approach to things, and that this kind of a purely emotional charge that that Good Death is laying down isn't something that agrees with his way of thinking. But again, just like with North Star, he's not showing like that he disagrees, but you know him well enough where you know that he's not like gung ho with this sort of thing.
I'll mimic North Star, and I'll be there like, my eyebrow will go down, and I will try to mimic her posture and that sort of stuff, and like, okay, yes, this is a better idea. I'll leave a neutral vote.
Yeah. Okay. What about One Fang?
One,
By the way, One Fang and all of you, the Ox Spear is totally like, "Grr," and Red Bitch is not. She actually looks very irritated over this. And Dusklight is kind of like yeah, right on, like it's a good atmosphere here.
Yeah, man. Already.
Yeah, but yeah, he's not like yeah, kill them all, like that sort of.
yeah, I think One Fang, as that was it Good Death was the one giving that speech?
Yeah.
No, yeah, as he's a Philodox, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's the leader, right? So as he's giving the speech, like I think unconsciously my head just starts going like, no, this makes no sense. And then as he finishes his statement about the war and goes high with the hands and there'll never be peace, I kind of almost step forward and say no, whether that's drowned out by the noise around me or not. And like I don't yell it or scream it, but I definitely say no. And then like I'm just staring up there, almost just taken aback, thinking this is not what the bear wants. This is not what we should be doing. This is totally against everything that I'm believing. Even as brought up as a human, this makes no sense. This isn't right.
Yeah, but you know that that Good Death is a follower of Fenris, who is a war spirit who's one of the biggest creeds is that you never back down from a challenge. That sort of a very fierce type of stuff. So this can be easily expected, though from a leader it's kind of like ease down all that stuff, man. But yeah, it's definitely not what the bear has taught you.
Yeah, so I mean, if nothing happens once I say no, then I'll kind of look around to, once again looking closely to see, probably to Red Claw first, which I know what Oxpear is going to be for. Battle is his first thing, and because she was the one who was tortured, she was the one who was hurt. I know her situation. I kind of look to see how she's reacting, and her non-committal kind of just raising her hand kind of a little bit tells me more than anything that this is wrong. And I actually kind of look back and I step up and say say a little bit louder. I say, no, this doesn't make sense.
At that point, if Curious Mind or Red Fan, if you wish your characters to hear that, you don't need to make a roll. If you think it's fitting for your characters to catch One Fang saying that to himself, you're free.
Yeah, not to mention I stepped out of line too. I kind of stepped forward. So
as soon as like I hear that, Red Claw is gonna like grab you by the shoulders and kind of pull you back a little bit and immerse you back into the crowd, and she kind of pulls you back away from everyone else, and she looks at you and goes, "You mustn't be speaking out against our leader like that."
But it doesn't make any sense. It's not what we should be doing.
I know it doesn't make any sense. However, this isn't about what does make sense. It's about what is. He is our leader. We follow him. What he says goes. He is law. And that is our law. If that were the case, if we should always rise up against our leaders like that, there would only be chaos. This is the way of things. If we should try to persuade him, we should do so through action in careful thought. You should not be challenging authority on the spot, lest you wish yourself a quick death, or in this case, a good one.
You see, he looks from you, obviously in your eyes, like taking your words, he absorbs your words. You can tell he's listening completely to you. And he looks up and he looks back at Good Death. He's like, but how can we convince him? How can I change their minds if I can't speak?
The elders have a hard time being convinced. They are stuck in their ways. I doubt that we may be able to ever change his mind. However, we must stick to the decisions that our pack makes. We must see these things through. And of course, as you must come to find out, in practice, you must never back down from a fight, even if it is perpetrated in a wrong manner, even if it is a foolish thing to do. Our warrior pride demands it. It is in our blood. Without that, what are we?
He kind of looks to the side. And, I will fight. I will fight for our pack. I'll fight for my family. I'm not afraid to fight. Not like I was.
Good.
But the bear tasked me to do this, as he tasked me to find you and to rescue you when you were there. How can I not do what he said? I have such a great friend because of that task. What else would I be giving up by not following what he tells me to do?
The spirits are wise, and they know more than what most mortal eyes may ever perceive. But you must be wary. The bear's words are not always exact. Eiderdrake speaks in metaphor, and oftentimes I must look deeper into the words and not be so literal with them. You must do the same. The bear would not want you to speak outward like this. Knowing how we are, he would have every right to rip your head straight from your body and leave you dead. Her face kind of turns into a grimace when she says that.
Yeah,
There's more than one way for you to approach this. We may yet be able to convince him, but you must find a clever way to do so. Use your head, not your brawn. She kind of gestures over to Oxspear.
If you're cool with it, I'm thinking there's only a few minutes until Roger needs to get to his other stuff. So as this is kind of going on, all this chatter with everyone kind of starts to shift into groups being assembled to go to the edge of the territories, and actually they find the bodies there having been organized and very neatly placed there and respectfully, very much in this kind of ready to be buried with respect type of thing. Many have been if they have the clear disfigurements and chunks being torn off of their heads, they have cloths and stuff being placed over them and that sort of thing, where you can just you can go and look and that sort of thing if it's proper, but it's not like they try to make it respectable and clean and all that. And as the festivities have clearly been over after the atmosphere became tense like this and serious, the rest of the night will be spent with all of you pondering the sufferings and the misgivings and the bad lucks and all this of your fellow Fenrir, whose bodies you are helping to bury in the grounds of the Garden Island there, the Longhouse or Long Hall Island, whichever it was. And basically, it's the rest of the night is about you reflecting and going through stuff here and here. So I'm gonna leave it at that, and the next time we pick up, it's most likely going to be the next day and stuff. So yeah, this session was
ever.
this session was mainly about just this one Sepp moot, but a lot of stuff happened during it. So yeah, I'm gonna let you guys go so that Roger can go and do his thing. And next week we won't be able to pick it up because the play that I'm in is going to premiere. And
Awesome.
but we can always, if it doesn't have to be Saturdays every time, we can, of course, especially since I'm on a 4-week summer holiday now.
Excellent.
For me, almost any day, unless I have theater practice or something like that, is good.
But you get 4 weeks off.
Yeah.
What the
That's
hell?
I'm gonna drop out because we're gonna make ready for a hike. So thanks so much. I had a great time, and we'll be in touch and make a new appointment.
Yeah,
Hells
definitely.
yeah.
See ya.
All right. Bye bye.
Yeah, we Euro fags get 4 weeks off every summer. So there you go.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is. And I
But
will go and enjoy that
Yeah, you
awesomeness
will.
right now as I
Uh,
end the broadcast.
Yeah. Have a good time out there in theater.
Thanks.
Break leg, as they say.
Why, thank you, sir.